you have anything to report from closed session?
Chair, there are no reportable actions from your closed session.
Okay. With that, we'll open and close the meeting. Do we have anyone to open and close in memory of? One. It's good that there's no one passing away. That's good. Or at least no one that connected with this board. We'll have Pastor Dennis Sylvester from First Assembly Church of God come forward and do our invocation. And then I'll ask Jared Carter if he'll lead us in the flag salute this morning. So let's stand together.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for this privilege. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Let's pray together. We address you, our Heavenly Father, this morning, and we just stop all the things that we do and look to you because we seriously and somberly need your touch. We need a blessing upon the business that we do today, upon the people that are represented here, people of our county and constituency. We look to you and ask you to help those who serve us. And in all these things, we want your blessing. Help us in every way that we open our hearts to receive that help. Bless our time together today. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice. Public comment.
Public comment. The first 15 minutes of each regular session are set aside for members of the public to address the board on any matter under the jurisdiction of the board, but not appearing on the agenda. The board will not take any action on any items presented under public comment. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. Anyone addressing the board is asked to print their name clearly on the speaker sheet at the podium and state their name and county of residence for the record.
Good morning.
Good morning. Connie Monapraza, Director of Behavioral Health. I just want to give you some great news. You may have already heard. The Madera County received 2 conditional grant awards. One for us to build our own crisis stabilization unit for youth and adults. And the other is for our adult sobering center, close to $25 million for Madera County. And then we also got a conditional grant award for our behavioral health bridge housing. That's close to $3 million. So we are very honored and proud to bring these resources to Madera County and working with our sales office with Jorge and Joel and everybody to make this happen for our county. Just want to give you the good news.
Congratulations. Thank you for your hard work, Connie. Appreciate you. All right.
Mr. Chairman, I was just going to say that's a very short presentation for a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. 28 is not every day you get $28 million.
Right. Exactly. You know, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we have a great behavioral health director. She's awesome. Really appreciate her. Next speaker, please.
Good morning. My name is Lisa Parker. I'm the Director of Native Solutions Family Guidance Center, and I'm on your item agenda today for item J. But I wanted to come up here, and I can't beat wonderful Director Connie's grant proposal, but I wanted to let you know that Native Solutions was awarded also $675,000 for the evidence-based programs for DHCS. Native Solutions has a contract with Mariposa and Madera for Eastern Madera. So we're excited to announce that grant as well. We will be expecting round 2, hopefully. But I'm pretty confident that our program is going to grow with that. I am on your consent agenda today regarding probation. We are asking to be certified today through the program to offer evidence-based programs, batterers intervention, parenting. I'm already state licensed DUI program in that area.
Please save that for your agendized item, please.
I sure can.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry to do that to you, but that's the way the law works. So go ahead there, Jared.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board, Jared Carter with Public Works. Wanted to give you a quick update. If you recall, the board awarded a contract to NCE back in May to update our pavement management system and essentially drive all of our roads, collect that data so that we can get a good picture of where we're at pavement condition wise in the county. So I'm happy to report we're about 78% through collecting all that data. Some folks may have seen the vehicle out there driving our roads that is collecting this data. It's a pretty interesting and highly technical vehicle, which we happen to have outside here today. If the board would like to take a few moments at some point to go check that out and kind of get a tour of how that thing works. So we're on track to finish up hopefully in about the next 2 weeks collecting all that data, and then we'll go into the stages of the analysis of that, getting that into our pavement management system, and then looking at funding and budget scenarios, and then ultimately having a report to present here to the board and for the public later this year, probably close October, November sometime. Just kind of giving a state of where we're at and what we're looking at as far as moving forward. So just want to give you that update. And again, if there's time, I'd love to invite you out to take a look at the vehicle.
Yeah, we'll take a 5-minute recess after the consent and go out and take a look at it. Take some pictures. Thank you. Any other public comment? Anyone online?
No comments online.
Okay, I don't see anyone at the podium, so we'll move on to consent calendar. Any items to be removed for separate consideration from the board? Hearing none, public have any comment on consent calendar? And at this time, I would invite the young lady that was commenting on item J, if she'd like to come forward. I'm sorry to do that to you, but the protocol demands that an item that's on the agenda be discussed during that period. So that's.
And Chair, while Lisa comes
Go
up,
ahead.
I will let you know I've had quite a few opportunities not only to go down to her facility, but to meet with her actually out in the community. I think while I was out campaigning, Lisa was out there working and happened to run into her. So she does a fantastic job. Deep history in the community, knows the folks out there, and is just a tremendous asset to the mountain community. So I just wanted to
Thank
make
you.
that known.
Go ahead. Oh, no. You know what? We all do it. Go ahead.
I jumped the gun too if I had exciting news like that. So
That's pretty good.
excellent. Yeah.
Yeah. You just press the button there.
There we go.
Thank you. Very good.
So thank you
ahead.
very much. Yes, I reiterate, we did apply through DHCS for the 6 rounds that they have for the evidence-based programs of wraparound services for Eastern Madera. So I've been on a lot of the committees just implementing that, as well as the homeless coalitions and the different things. But we are strategically moving forward with the Native Solutions Family Guidance Center and building some of those programs. It's taken me a little bit of time through probation to get certified. So with that being said, we are now asking today to be certified for the Batters Prevention Program, parenting classes, child abuse endangerment, which we're already doing in Mariposa County. I would like to add it to the Eastern Madera County. It just seems a great fit. I was a former tribal administrator for a tribe, and so we've seen the need there up in the Eastern Community Center. So working with Tom Wheeler and Bob McCauley and a lot of stuff, we've seen a lot of the need up there. So with that, I'm already state licensed for the DUI program up there. We've already been accepting clients through the DUI program up there. And just implementing the supervised visitation center. I'm already contracted through CWS Madera. So we do all the supervised visitations up there already. So yeah, we're got our footprint there. So I want to thank you very much for taking this opportunity to look at my proposals.
Thank you very much.
Thank
and
you.
Appreciate your comments.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Are there any other public comment on this consent calendar? If not, I'll bring it back. Board, what's your pleasure?
Move to approve.
Motion made.
Second.
Let's vote.
Supervisor McCauley,
Yes.
Supervisor Portres,
Yes.
Supervisor Wamhong,
Yes.
Chairman Rogers.
Yes.
Vote passes 4-0.
And our good Supervisor Leticia Gonzalez is temporarily on an absence, so for good reason. We're very glad that she's doing well.
Is it
Uh,
picture time, Chair? We're gonna go do pictures? Is that what you're?
Yeah,
We're gonna go see
I-
that.
I'm gonna recess us for 5 minutes. Okay, we're back from our break and we'll continue with our agenda. It is 10:30, so we're going to go to our public hearings, item 7A.
7A, Community and Economic Development Department, Planning Division, State Community Development Block Grant and 2023 Notice of Funding Availability. Hearing to accept comments on the county's proposed submittal of application to apply under the 2023 State Community Development Block Grant, Notice of Funding Availability, and to solicit citizens' input, discussion and consideration to adopt a resolution approving the application for funding and the execution of the grant agreement and any amendments thereto from the 2023-2024 funding year of the state CDBG program.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Jamie Bax with Community and Economic Development, and I have Annette Kephart with me here as well. So yes, we are soliciting public comments on this application. It's required by HCD as we apply for these CDBG grants. This grant amount is actually a large one. It's 3.25 million. And we want to get this done early. We expect that the application period to open at the end of August. And if we use this for an infrastructure grant, it must be a shovel-ready project, meaning we have to have plans and specs ready to go. So this is why we are early on in this process. We expect the notice of funding availability to come up here in the next week or so. And then again, at the end of August is when the applications will become available for us to hit submit. It is a first come, first serve application. So we want to be able to hit submit as soon as it opens. So with that, we're here to accept any public comment and comment from your board for direction on this application.
Okay, are there any comments from the supervisors in this? I'm going to open the public hearing and ask for public comment. Anyone here to speak on this item? Anyone online?
No comments online?
Okay, no comments online, no comments in person. I'm going to bring it back to the board and ask what's your pleasure?
We do have one online. I apologize.
That's great. The hearing wasn't closed, Chair.
Okay. Go ahead.
Hello, good morning, Board of Supervisors. Good morning, Jamie. This is Andrea from Leadership Council. I, as you know, work with a lot of residents in Madera County and think that this CDBG application would be a great time to see and fulfill the needs in Fairmead and Lavinia. In Fairmead, we're I think it'd be like street lighting, a crosswalk in front of Fairmead Elementary School, speed bumps, sidewalks. And in Lavinia, I think there's also a big concern for safety and think that street lighting would also be a great implementation here, and doing outreach within this communities would be of great use as well. And we're happy to talk about more of these communities' needs as well. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Hearing none, bring it back to the board. I'm closing the public hearing. And what is your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move for approval.
Motion made.
I'll second.
Motion made and second. Let's vote.
Supervisor Poitras,
Yes.
Supervisor Warmha,
Yes.
Supervisor McCauley,
Yes.
Chairman Rogers.
Yes,
Vote passes 4-0.
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you for bringing that forward. Okay, item 6A.
6A, Behavioral Health Services Department. Consideration to adopt a resolution approving the application and participation in the Behavioral Health Continuum Infrastructure Program, Round 5 Crisis and Behavioral Health Continuum Grant Program.
Good morning. Carmona Peraza, Director of Behavioral Health here in Madera County. So Supervisor Poitras, here it is. No. So we are very, very proud. Jorge, I want to thank him also publicly and all the team at the CIO's office and in our office worked very hard to receive the conditional award letter. The Department of Healthcare Services close to $25 million for us to build our own crisis stabilization unit and an adult sobering center. So this resolution is required as we are engaging with AHP, which is a subcontractor who works with the State Department on all the details and all the operational planning that goes into building our own CSU. I know Jorge has been, and Tristan and others have been very critical to us in meeting all the pretty comprehensive details in working with AHP. We have experience with having acquired the CARES unit as well. 2 years ago, we got the funding for that. So we have experience working with them, but this resolution is required. So just if you want to comment on that. Jorge.
Yeah, so if the board approves the resolution today of acceptance of the grant, there'll be several more items here coming in the coming up months. Basically, RUR should transfer the cash match for the county, transfer that cash match into an account that they designated for us. So we're right now going through the approval process, providing clean title report to the location where this new CSU is going. So I'm hoping that this grant approval is successfully completed within the next 4 or 5 months. And at that point, we can begin the hiring an architect, contractor, all that good stuff that we typically go through for our new construction project.
Have we identified where the cash match is coming from? That and where-
Correct. We have done already a
How much?
resolution in I forget which board meeting.
Okay.
Um,
I just want the public to
June.
know.
yes, there was already a resolution designating the cash match
Right.
and the source.
Thank you. Very good.
So just very high level. So what we are very blessed that we're going to be building for us is a children, youth, and adults crisis stabilization unit, which will allow for us to reduce our folks who are on the street and getting them the right services. Folks who would go to this crisis stabilization unit instead of going to the jail and affecting our jail population as well. We want to reduce high psychiatric hospitalizations. So by having this program, it will help us divert and also to increase the rate of connecting our folks into treatment. So this will do all ages. We will also have the opportunity to do what's called crisis stabilization, medication management if we need to do, as we do the 72-hour holds that would stay there. Case management, peer support is going to be very comprehensive. We plan to use what is called the empath model, which is a very open, welcoming, recovery-oriented setting, not institutional, which tends to destabilize. It quickly helps for clients to be destabilized, especially if we have peers or people with lived experience that are the ones welcoming them to the program, which will be there. The Adult Sobering Center is another effort, which we're very, very happy to also have gotten that, is for us to have a place for folks, again, instead of jail, being psychiatric hospitalized, et cetera, going to this setting. This is adults only, where they could be either under the influence of alcohol or drugs, et cetera. They would be observed, medical staff and clinical staff would observe them to stabilize them. We don't want to call it a drunk tank because I don't like that term, but they will be destabilized there and stabilized and referred into treatment, be it social model detox or residential, and definitely connecting to other resources in the community. So we are very, very happy. We're very excited to move through with this project.
Thank you so much. Any comment from the board on this item? Go ahead, Rob.
Mr. Chairman, I was just curious as far as a location for this destabilization unit.
Tozer Road. So we want to do the way we advocated for this grant, and I think it really helped us. Is we like a part of a multi-service center. So where the jail is, where other resources near public health, near social services, so we can have all those services available to our clients.
Okay.
And that was very powerful.
Makes sense.
Excellent.
Right, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Any other comment?
Yeah,
Go ahead,
I
Bob.
just wanted to thank, the CAO's office as well as behavioral health for all the work getting this done. And I'm curious to know, have we put together any kind of press release on the grants that we received? And
Yes, I don't know if Carla's opinion helped us do that. I think, I want to say 2 weeks ago.
okay, perfect. Thank you.
I think the figures we were talking about before the break was over was around 33 million total for income on.
Yes.
That's a significant amount of money. It's a lot of money in a Madera County investment. Awesome. Thank you so much for your hard work.
Thank you.
Is there any comment from the public on this item? If not, I'm seeing none online and hearing none out here, so we'll bring it back to the board. What's your pleasure?
I'll move for approval.
Motion made.
Second.
Let's vote.
Supervisor Portress?
Yes.
Supervisor McCauley?
Yes.
Supervisor Wamha?
Yes.
Chairman Rogers?
Yes.
Vote passes 4-0.
Item 6B.
6B, Public Works Department, Engineering Services Division. Discussion and consideration of approval of an amendment to Madera contract number 11255B-21 with HDR Engineering, Inc. for solid waste management consulting services to revise this for and authorize the chairman to sign. Consideration of approval to authorize the auditor controller to wish to issue payments for contingencies up to 10% of the amendment agreement amount per established by county policy. Consideration of approval, excuse me, to Chief of Development Services or their designee to solely issue and approve contract change orders in accordance with contract code, not to exceed authorized 10% contingencies. Discussion and consideration of approval to issue a request for qualifications, request for proposals for solid waste management consulting services following the expiration date of February 29, 2024.
Good morning, Chair and members of the board. Jared with Public Works, wearing my solid waste hat now. I do have John Carlton with HDR online as well, available for questions. So this item is to essentially amend that contract with HDR, who's been our consultant for solid waste over the last several years, as you know. Extend that contract through the end of February. And then also we are looking for direction from the board related to issuing a new RFQ for that solid waste consulting services. Available for any questions.
Any questions for Jared? If not, I'm going to take this out to the public. Any comments from the public on this item? Do we have anyone online? If
No
not,
comments online.
then we'll bring it back to the board. Your pleasure.
I'll make a motion for approval.
Made,
Second.
motion made and second. Let's vote.
Supervisor Poitras.
Yes.
Supervisor McCauley.
Yes.
Supervisor Wamhaugh.
Yes.
Chairman Rogers.
Yes.
Vote passes 4-0.
Great.
Thank you.
Item 6C.
Chair, if I may,
Yes.
you'll likely want to call the additional item added to the agenda for 6C. So I'll read it into the record with that addition that was added.
Okay.
Presentation and update with Force 10 Partners Consultants of Madera Community Hospital Historical Volumes, Profitability and Reopening Analysis, and letter of request for financial support to sustain Madera Community Hospital operations during Chapter 11 bankruptcy proceedings dated July 24th, 2020. Over in 2023, and excuse me, and provide action in the form of direction to staff. Thank you.
Good morning,
Thank
Mr.
you,
Chairman.
sir. Yeah.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Joel Begay, County Administrative Office. We are joined today online by Robert Minkin and Pat Ryan from Force 10. I will do a brief introduction of the report and hand it over to the Force 10 team to go over briefly on the executive summary of the report. So I kind of want to go over the scope of work. I'm going to wait for catch up. All right. So, in general, the board has commissioned Force 10 to create a hospital reopening and analysis report, basically to quantify financial models possible for the hospital to reopen and sustain. It's also to put numbers on what it would take as far as reopening and investment necessary. Robert?
Yeah, this is, can we get, can we?
Yeah,
put
Robert, can you put yourself on mute? Whoever's
very
on.
distracting.
Right, thank you.
Thank
Right,
you.
so the point of the study, when the hospital went into bankruptcy, we've been warned by our county's council that the bankruptcy is very fluid. It has been described as the wild, wild west of the legal world. And staff recommended commissioning this report from Force 10 so that we can put facts and figures and what it would take for any entity, not specifically the county, not specifically the hospital, but for any entity to reopen this facility and what it would take cash-wise and what models and what benchmarks need to be met in order to make sure it's sustainable in the future. Both from the standpoint that information is available to the hospital so that they may use it, in their efforts at reopening, to make that information available for the county in the event that the hospital isn't able to open, and that the last resort that the board might consider stepping in. What I wanted to point out, that the report wasn't commissioned for a set purpose that the county was going to purchase the hospital. So we want to clarify it, even though it does go over some asset acquisition scenarios. So anyway, so that summarizes the scope. I'm going to turn it over now to the 4STAN team to go over their project team and the executive summary of the report.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Robert Minkin here with 4STAN. Thank you for having us in. We can skip the firm overview. I think the board is familiar with our team and the folks that worked on the report. If we could skip to page 9 and jump right into the report on the executive summary. As Joel mentioned, we were asked to answer 3 or so basic questions. If the county were to evaluate the possibility of acquiring the hospital, or if a third party were to evaluate the possibility of acquiring the hospital out of bankruptcy, or if Madera Community Hospital were to try to work itself out of bankruptcy, what would it need in order to reopen itself? And our detailed financial analysis yielded some basic conclusions. One, we do not believe that as an independent hospital, Madera Community Hospital can sustain itself on a year-over-year basis. The best chance for Madera Community to operate as a sustainable financial entity and to operate as a high-quality community hospital is to be a part of an organized health system. An organized health system is one that has multiple hospitals in it and one that operates with a substantial amount of leverage in a particular marketplace, one that has multiple health system contracts with payers that can buy supplies on a leveraged basis, and, if you will, can bring to bear substantial leverage so that it can get discounts in the marketplace rather than operating as a freestander with very little leverage. We do believe that any provider that does want to undertake the reopening of Madera Community Hospital should qualify and will apply for a grant of at least $30 million from the Distressed Hospital Loan Program that the California state has made available for distressed hospitals. Page 10, please. In any event, the newly reopened hospital will have to achieve and maintain benchmark efficiency and cost markers. What that means is that we, in our findings, did not observe the hospital to be operated in a manner that we would have expected or could have been operated in a manner that would have been the most efficient. And that meant that there were opportunities for greater cost efficiency and that any future operator will see this as an opportunity. Rebuilding the local physician and hospital and clinic networks are paramount to successfully achieving a reopening. Hospitals don't admit their own patients to their hospitals. It requires doctors to do so, as everyone knows. So other than through their emergency room, community physician relationships will have to be reestablished, both through their clinic operations as well as through reestablishing relationships with their community physicians and with other types of relationships that the hospital had not established in the past. Most important is being able to improve payer relationships with commercial payers. While this hospital did not have a very large commercial payer base in the past, what it did have could improve the financial operation of the hospital substantially by being paid better than it had been in the past. Page 11, please. in any scenario, we do believe that this operation will need to not only qualify for a distressed hospital loan program award, but that that award hopefully will be in part or in total forgiven. As a system affiliated hospital, because of the economies of scale that can be brought to that hospital once it is opened, you can see from our report that we believe that its net operating income will see a substantial increase over operating as an independent, up to about $50+ million over a 5-year period of time. Flip to page 12, please. Once the decision is made to reopen the hospital, once it comes out of bankruptcy, we estimate a 6 to 9 month ramp up to doors open, costing approximately $15 million once a decision is made to reopen, and a system affiliated operator is signed. Facility capital needs a total of an approximate $10 million, and that's both working capital as well as any equipment that is needed to re-equip the hospital. The sooner that a decision is made, the better. And what we mean by that is the longer the delay, the more likely it is, the more difficult it is to reopen the hospital. And that is because of the licensure and Medicare certification issues that arise the longer the hospital is shuttered. As of this writing, we understand there is at least one and perhaps two suitors that are in negotiations to reopen the hospital at this time. That is a function of considerations by the credit committee and the court, and that is something that is being considered at this time by the court, and that will be determined in due course. There is no time frame, as we understand it, for those decisions to be made. So I'm going to stop right there. That's a pretty high level run through of our findings. Behind that is substantial analysis of both scenarios, both freestanding as well as affiliated, with a substantial amount of data that was provided to us by both Madera Community Hospital, using both public access information as well as data that we used from benchmarking sources that provides for our ability to assess the organization's ability to open. So I'll stop there and answer any questions the board might have.
Questions from the board? Okay. Any comments? Is this presentation done?
Mr. Chairman, if there are no comments or questions on the report, we might take up the letter request from the hospital as part of item 6C. I think as the clerk passed the letter.
Okay, County Council, would you like to iterate the basic contents of the letter for the public?
Sure, Chair and members of the board. The letter that was received yesterday evening will be added to the county's website online and is available here, a hard copy or upon request from the clerk of the board's office. And so as the letter states, Madera Community Hospital's Chief Executive Officer has requested that, or has informed the board in a 1.5-page letter, that as we approach the end of the July, the hospital estimates a burn rate of approximately $500,000 per month to maintain essential plant operations. And keeping the plant running, the hospital, as was mentioned in the presentation briefly, keeping the operations allows for healthcare services in the community in the future. Specifically, they're asking from July 30th through August 30th, 2023, that the county provide some assistance while the hospital waits and the community waits for a decision by the state related to a distressed hospital loan program. And it goes on further in terms of understanding how important this deliberation is for you, and asks that you provide a response no later than this Friday, July 28th, 2023. And Thanks you for your understanding and continued support. I think that summarizes it, and staff is here to provide additional information.
Okay, any comments from the board?
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to make a comment and based in what it is for the benefit of the public to understand what a burn rate is. If there's a home or even a small office or something, and let's say the electricity has been cut off and it's going to be cut off for the next 30 days. If there's nobody living there, if it's empty, it's really not going to cause too much damage when you think about it, because there's, if there's no airflow, if there's nothing going on as far as electricity, there's probably, again, not going to be too much in the way of damage. An acute care hospital is a whole different story. You've got airflows and that's basically what it is. If those types of operations are cut off to an acute care or hospital facility, it can you have to start over again with the state of California as far as reopening the facility. So, and it can add months, years to the reopening. So the action that we're talking about taking would be to keep the hospital going for another 30 days and keep the boilers going and keep the airflow and to keep the integrity of the structure going, so that if there is a successful negotiations with a suitor, funding from the state of California is made available, then the hospital can continue going. But it's without that, if it's shut down even for a few days, then it's a whole different ball game, and so it's something that we really need to consider seriously moving forward with. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Appreciate your vigilance on this the whole time. He's been on top of it since day one, and we really appreciate it. Just wanted to myself remind the public of a few things on this circumstance. Number one, this is a private hospital, and intervention was never an option from this board, from government entity. We have no governance over a private institution. It is not, that's not our purview. So for those who continue to make the county a scapegoat for whatever, I just want people to know that that's an illegitimate type of a chide. We as a board have always supported and invested in the hospital as we were enabled to do so. ARPA funds opened that opportunity for us because of the broad coverage of the law in that particular regard. At one point, this board provided $1 million in assistance to the hospital. And that and also included in our assistance through the years have been contracts that we could develop with the hospital in regards to indigent care and things that we do as a board in the function of public health realm. We've always been supportive and worked with them in that regard. So we have a history of good relationship with the hospital. In addition to the 1 million and the past contracts that we've had with them, we also invested $300,000 recently, approximately, in Force 10 report, which we just received a report today. And I want to clarify something. I know that the report intimates that that the board that the county could acquire the hospital. That was never our intent. That is a speculative comment, just for those who just so the report could be drafted such that any institution wishing to acquire it could look at it from that standpoint, not from our standpoint. The board now has never mentioned the idea of acquiring the hospital. So I just want to clarify that. Our goal has only always been that the medical needs of our community are being met. And that is still our goal. And in that goal, it is our desire that the hospital open. That is our goal, to get that hospital open and not just open, but sustainably open, so that it can continue to provide the needs of this community for decades to come. And I think it's clear from the report that that it must be done through a network of outside institutions, that a single entity cannot operate independent of a health system. I also want to just point out too, one thing that I've become acutely aware of recently that's really important. And that is that this community is not only underserved medically and has been for some time, but now it's almost not served as far as like a hospital is concerned. It's completely unserved. That is a very stark point that we're making. And what does that mean in terms of the region? I can only tell you what dear close friends have said to me as recently as a couple of days ago. One of my close friends called me and said that I was inquiring about his mother, and he called me and told me they took her to St. Agnes, and that the hallways were, this is just a microcosm of what's going on, by the way, that the hallways were full of people being housed in the hallways, and that the hospital is overrun, and many other hospitals are overrun in the Fresno area. I'm hearing this from a standpoint of the RHA. They're concerned because this whole thing is somewhat getting out of control. You got 30 people in the hallways. You got your emergency room full of people. And my thoughts go to this, that when it's like that, someone is going to die unnecessarily because they're not going to get the care that they need. And that is our concern. We are very, very concerned about that. So this has always been an important issue for this board. We have not taken it lightly. We have been continually informed. Unfortunately, the process of bankruptcy is very onerous and very secretive and very not friendly to anyone trying to find out information and help with that process. And it's been that no less for this government entity, trying to help its community, trying to help its citizens get what they need to have their medical needs met. So in that regard, I am fully in favor of, in what I've heard from different members of the board who are on the original board of the hospital, and what I've heard from them is very encouraging. These are people that I consider good business people, including Rob. I could include Rob in that, and others. So I have a level of comfort with us moving forward on doing something, and I will leave that to my colleagues as we float this out on this board. Anyone else have any comments? Go ahead, Jordan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My comments are reserved for the fiduciary aspect of this, and I don't think there's any debate on the necessity of having an acute care facility in Madera County. But from a fiduciary standpoint, very, very leery of providing bridge money for a burn rate without a real plan. And that was the most concerning to me. And it seems as though we've come to that precipice where the creditors are about to move, and we're very, very close, it seems like. So, I feel comfortable at this point, comfortably uncomfortable
with moving forward with this. I think we've come to the point where this is a very, very strategic risk, and it's a risk that up until this point, I was not comfortable with making. But we are at that precipice right now where I feel it is incumbent upon us with the capacity that we have in order to do this. And I think it sends a message to others involved that reopening this hospital is a priority for us, even though it is, as you aptly said, this is a private hospital, but it serves this community. And ultimately, this board is responsible for also serving this community and making sure that we receive, our residents receive the care that they need. And so with that, I am in favor of this.
I would suggest too, I think that one of the elements that could be incorporated in any disbursement of funds is that we maybe condition it upon in any disbursement upon an LOI, letter of intent. And any comments on that?
Yes, I agree that that would be appropriate. And yeah, upon a executed LOI between the hospital and the potential suitor.
Right. Thank you for that.
And in weekly increments after the LOI is signed.
Right. Yeah. I believe the disbursements are roughly $125,000 a week. Right.
And would there be any provision as far as a weekly disbursement not being made if a deal was already reached or something along those lines? So, I mean, we're not essentially, we're authorizing staff to go up to $500,000 up to a $125,000 weekly disbursement, which is not what we're giving, but authorizing up to that point. Is that correct?
Right.
Right.
I think
Right.
so, because yeah, I believe the situation right now is so fluid. There's a lot of balls in the air right now, and as far as timelines or in regards to any word from the state of California regarding revolving loan program, the distress hospital program is there's some, it's a little fuzzy out there. We know it's soon, early to mid-month, but dates and so forth. So it's, yeah, very fluid situation.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to kind of acknowledge that Robert McKenna Consultant has his hand up online.
Oh, okay. Thank you for
Robert?
pointing. I can't see that from here, but I thank you for letting me know. Go ahead. Go ahead, Robert.
Mr. Chairman and Board, thank you. Just one piece of unsolicited advice. The board may want to consider consulting with your bankruptcy attorney on this matter. While the hospital may wish to sign an LOI, and I believe it actually already has, its actual signature on an agreement is subject to an agreement by both the creditors committee as well as the court, it is my understanding. So while the hospital may actually sign an agreement, it actually in bankruptcy is subject to further approvals. So I appreciate what the board is hoping to achieve here, but you may want to consider how the hospital's action may be considered by the bankruptcy court down the line. So I would advise that you have this conversation with counsel as you consider this action.
Yeah, I'd just like to inform you that is being done and has been done. And
Mr. Chairman.
Maybe our county council or
right.
CAO can.
Mr. Chairman, if I make a suggestion, as we kind of like try to make sure understand where the board is directing staff. So if we could make suggestion that your board directs staff to return on August 1st to appropriate the $500,000, because we do need to take that action to make any disbursements. In that direction, incorporate that no disbursement be made until county's in receipt of a letter of intent from a potential provider to the hospital. Given Robert's comment, if your board so wishes, maybe include that prior to disbursement that we consult with county council and bankruptcy council to make sure that to make sure that there are no other considerations that that the board needs to make prior to dispersing the funds.
Mr. Chairman, I would think that that goes without saying. I would hope
Right.
that you do that.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah, I think
that-
it does too.
the Force 10's comments are rather obvious in my mind. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it's redundant. We have done that and we will continue to do that. I don't think this board has made a legal move without consulting our attorneys through this whole thing. So, and I appreciate the reminder, but we've been doing that and what have you. So,
Yep.
County Council, go ahead.
Yep, thank you, Chair. And let me just ask this question, because yes, as staff, we did speak late in the evening about folding in our, continuing to fold in our outside bankruptcy counsel, of course. But let me ask this question in terms of the motion that, or the recommended motion that I think is on the floor, is if our council indicates a letter of intent or something similar, that would be fine with the board, or that would be brought back to the board, next week.
Correct. I think perhaps if I might offer the angle there is, if the creditors committee rejects the letter of intent, then there is no partner, right? I think that's and there would not be a bridging of any kind, right?
Right.
So I think but I think it goes without saying, if it all's clear, that we would like your board to direct staff staff has the authority to follow through with it. That way, won't
That's
necessitate
the way
going
you
back.
feel comfortable. I don't think this board has any problem with intent. Okay. Any more discussion? If not, I'm open to a motion for consideration.
Are we supposed to?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Going to take this out to the public for public comment on this item. Do we have any public to speak on this issue?
Nobody online.
No one online, no one presenting themselves in this chamber. So therefore, I'll bring it back to the board. What's your intent and pleasure?
It's a big motion.
It is. Thank you. Yeah, that's
You're
for
welcome.
sure. Miss-
If you want, I can make it.
Yeah. To clarify with council and Mr. Chairman, I think there'll be two motions, one to receive the report, right? It was presented, it's just accepting the report.
Let's do,
No?
we don't need to do that.
We don't accept that,
necessarily.
okay. Okay, council.
What I'll do is I'm going to
It's
make a
directed to
motion that.
staff.
It's direction to staff,
It's
and I
direction to
think
staff.
Yeah.
your deputy CAO summarized it, but some
We
summary
need to
like
make a
that.
motion?
Can make a motion based on his recommendation that he understood based on your discussion. He summarized
Right.
and it was clarified. So
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we appropriate $500,000 to be dispersed after a letter of intent, to be dispersed in weekly disbursements. After a letter of intent and after consulting with our attorneys for this board to give the go-ahead.
and that's to come back on August 1st.
Yes,
Direction to come back with that action item.
thank you. Is that clear?
I'll second that.
Okay, motion made in second.
Chairman Rogers,
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras.
Yes.
Supervisor Wamhaugh,
Yes.
Supervisor McCauley,
Yes.
vote passes 4-0.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. That should be hopefully a good news to our hospital, good news to our future provider. And I hope the state's listening because we need their help and we need them to come through. We need our representatives. We have city administrator from City of Madera here today. Let's make some phone calls together and get those state representatives to move ahead. We need that help.
And we'll
Thank you.
split the bill with the city of Madera, right? City manager?
Come ahead.
Good morning, Chair, members of the board. Arnoldo Rodriguez, City Manager for the City of Madera. Any requested items by this board can go back to the City Council for formal discussion. I think it would be inappropriate for me to stand before this board and to state with absolute confidence that the city could contribute. But if it's the board's request, I can't take the the item back to city council for discussion. The other thing that I simply want to applaud Joel, Jay, and the entire board of the county for all of your efforts. This is a Herculean task. It's been a very emotional period, I think, for the past 8 months for our community. And I think this board deserves a tremendous amount of recognition and credit and applause for everything you've done to date to try to see this project or kind of the hospital reopening or some kind of health facility in our community move forward. So thank you.
Thank you, Arnoldo. That
Thank
was
you.
very, very good compliment, and we would request anything you can do to aid in this process.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate him doing that, coming forward. That's very kind. Okay, where are we at? I think that concludes our agenda. Any pending legislation? Hearing none.
None.
Hearing none, we'll go to supervisor staff reports. Supervisor McCauley.
Yes, Chair. I attended a Yosemite Gateway Partners meeting up in the park where we heard presentations from, I believe, the Miwok as well as Caltrans and Yosemite National Park, where they talked about their visitor access management plan. They're going through a comment period right now, and have requested to park leadership that they come and provide us with presentation outlining some of those changes that will likely culminate in some sort of reservation system during peak hours. But that is yet to be determined, and they are looking for public input. So I felt it would be a good opportunity to bring them here and kind of talk about some of those changes, proposed changes. So they'll be here sometime in August to give a short presentation to the board.
I appreciate your engagement in that. And one thing that would be interesting to kind of study a little bit on would be the impact of economics to Madera County with or without that reservation system. So what are the impacts? Will people stay longer? Will they come in and stay before, those kind of things? So I think that would be an interesting component to understand. Maybe
that's a great comment, Chair. And actually that's kind of the tune of my comments during their first round of public comment was we would like to do some sort of review to better understand how these changes will impact gateway communities. So we're working with park leadership at this time to identify some funding that can help us do that sort of review. That way we can use it as a planning document moving forward.
Excellent.
After they've made those changes.
excellent, because we are a gateway community to Yosemite, and it is part of our tourist economic base. And I think the Yosemite Visitors Bureau would definitely have some kind of input into that, because they've got all the facts and figures about where people go and what they do and this and that. So that would be great.
1 million cars a year go through the South Gate. So it's pretty substantial.
That is big. That is huge. Thank you for that comment. Supervisor Poitras.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It seems like it's after this last week, it seems like it was a long time ago, but last Wednesday morning at 9 a.m., we had the CASA, Court Appointed Special Advocates mural presentation. And you know, it was a fun event, but it's also an event that has quite a message in terms of not only the beauty or the color and so forth, the brightness that it brings to the downtown mural project and effort that is beginning, but also what CASA does for the community in terms of helping out with foster kids. And it was quite a turnout, and it was, I think it's again, the start of some very nice mural additions to downtown. Thank you.
Very good. In my report, I'd like to just, I'm glad to talk about the Justice Center that we dedicated this last week. And had I had the opportunity to speak, I would have said this thing, and that is that building speaks. it speaks of the number one priority of Madera County, which is public safety. The building speaks for victims who cannot speak for themselves. And it speaks to those who would commit crime that the tip of the spear is waiting for you. And if you don't commit crime in Madera County, because we plan on dealing with it. So what a great building, what a great group of people we have serving in that building, serving the community. We have the DA and the probation office right there, and our great DA Sally Moreno and Chris Childers, our probation officer. We appreciate all those people do, and I'm so glad to see them in a building that is worthy of their service, safe and in a level of comfort that should be when you work hard like they do. We appreciate that very much. Madera County's number one priority, public safety, and that shows it. Sir?
Great, thank you, Chairman. Last Tuesday evening, I attended the Madera Community College Community Listening Session where the president of the college, Dr. Angel Reyna, was present and facilitated the event. It was a good event where people got to come down and they got to provide their input as far as what they want in their college, and also provide a vision, a 10-year vision for what they want in their community college. And so they celebrated several milestones. They got the very first sports team, which is women's soccer, which they unveiled their new mascot. But it's exciting that we have that asset and resource here in our community, because they're growing exponentially, and they continue to offer more classes, which also provides opportunities for those within our community to grow and do better for themselves and become more educated in certain fields where they can, have a higher education and earning capacity and all the things that go along with it. So it was really good to be there. I want to echo your sentiments regarding the Justice Center. That building is worthy of their service. You know, how they where they were being, I'll say, housed earlier.
Yeah.
Was in my opinion, substandard, and so glad to see them in a new facility, because those government facilities, they are a contract with the community, and they need to represent that.
Yes.
And I believe that that building does represent the contract for the community of the work that they do.
Couldn't agree more. Thank you for your comments.
And yesterday morning, I had the opportunity to tour Camarena Health inside Matilda Torres High School.
Yeah.
They are a great, not facility, but they have a great network, and they're really a good group. And that particular facility is embedded within the high school. And so if kids, want to come in for dental work or, anything, they sprain their ankle at school, they can go right there. But it provides a great resource, because I think a lot of us know kids that, if they need to go to the dentist, sometimes their parents can't take them or won't take the time to take them. And having that resource right there at the school is really, really valuable. And I saw that as well, saw that value. And they also partner with the school for education for people who want to go into the medical field, for paramedic or doctor or whatever the case is, nursing. So that partnership is really valuable, and I really saw that value. So it's something that I want to continue to advocate for. I think those are amazing facilities. So
Yeah, Camarena has really done a job there, and I remember talking with Paulo, the CEO, a number of years ago about moving into the schools, and he wanted to know how I felt about it, and I thought that was absolutely a great way to get to their the people they serve. So putting themselves right there. Also wanted to piggyback on what you said about the college. What a great institution forward thinking, and I love their trade facilities that they've recently added, the welding shop. And all that. That's really, really, they're addressing community needs that industrial businesses have. And I think that's a great partnership. They're moving forward with things that will create jobs for people in the future. So that's perfect, absolutely perfect. And I think they've got a great visionary in their leadership there. CEO?
Nothing to report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chair. No report.
Okay,
Nothing to report. Thank you.
great. This meeting is adjourned.